Hey guys, welcome to another one of our reviews. I'm the Worm, this is the Proton.
And this isn't a review.
It's not, is it?
We'll just keep going, fuck it. Indeed.
It's stuff and things today.
Stuff and things today.
Flapping and flappery about batteries, sub-ohm coils, mechanical mods,
Bits
and
and bobs.
safe usage basically.
Indeed. This isn't going to be an epic flapping video, but it will be a flapping video.
It'll be like a good 10-15 minutes long.
I'd imagine so. Intention behind this is that people have been asking what the whole using batteries safely is like, and how do I know whether my batteries are safe. I know that one of the guys on the Facebook, I think it was Ant yesterday, said, well, how do I know? So sort of just make sure you stay safe when you're using sub-ohm coils and that kind of stuff. And there are ways to ensure that you do that. So this is us helping you hopefully find out how to vape safely if you're going to do silly things like we do.
Mainly him.
It is mainly me, but you do delve into the world of sub-ohm coils.
Sometimes.
So yeah, basically we just wanted to sort of more of an info video than anything else. So the question was, how do I know whether I am safe with my batteries when vaping sub-ohm coils? We have tip one, step one.
Buy a good battery.
Well, know what your battery is. Know what the amp limit is the main one you need to worry about. That is the first thing, basically, that we would say you need to know. You're going to need to know what your limit is on your battery before you can determine whether you're pushing it too hard.
Yes.
As simple as that. We will shout out a few of the batteries that we know the limits of. So what we're going to start with. Well, we have got a few to hand. I don't know they're all in mods, but we have got a few to hand. We'll start off with these panners.
We've got some Panasonics. We've got these from
Amazon.
Amazon, yes, Amazon.
Some German bloke on Amazon.
Some German bloke. He sent us the wrong ones. Sent another two for free. So we got four for the price of two. But these are 10 amp. These are Panasonic 10 amp batteries.
They did state they were 10 amp when we bought them. Okay.
These are sold as Provari batteries.
Yes.
That's why they're 10 amp.
Indeed. Saying that the Provari only has a 3.5 amp limit, but I think it's the fact that they're seriously high drain.
Yeah.
So them panners are 10 amp. The panners from Snailtech that are 3400 mAh are 10 amp. You can find this out by searching your battery.
I think I've got one of them to hand.
E-Fests, 5 amp. Okay. Your E-Fests are usually 5 amp. We're not vouching for every battery by E-Fest, but the ones that we've checked, the ones that we have are 5 amp.
That's the ones we got from Fastech. These are 10 amp. Panasonics again.
Generally, your Panasonics will be 10 amp. Okay, there are other ones out there. There are some 30 amp batteries, your MNKEs and all this kind of stuff.
There are also Panasonic ones as well. There are 30 amp Panasonic ones from
also
Fastech.
Sony ones as well that are 30 amp. Your Trustfires and your other ones, we don't know, but just don't even bother. They
vary so much. One will say it's 10 amp and it could be 4.
I mean, this is the kind of battery that will claim 3,400 mAh and underneath say actual mAh rating 2,600. You just never know what you're going to get. Steer clear of the cheaper batteries, okay? It's not worth playing around with too much. What's this? Does this say on it?
No, it doesn't. I remember what this one was. It was a 5 amp battery. This is just a no-name one from when I bought my Vamo. But it's a 5 amp on that one. Okay.
The AWs, your AW batteries are typically 10 amp. There are some that are 7, there are some that are 5, but typically they're 10 amp.
These are Provari ones, these are 10 amp AWs, and
AW350s are 10 amp.
These are 10 amp AW batteries as well. These are the high mAh battery ones, but they're still high drain. So
indeed. So we've kind of delved in, but be honest with you guys, just check your battery. So if you've got an E-Fest version 1 flat top, search amp rating on E-Fest version 1 flat top in Google. You will find the answer. Now, a lot of sites will include the amp ratings when they sell them.
And they should.
They tend to be, though, sites that sell batteries as opposed to sites that sell electronic cigarettes, because they will say sort of E-Fests are a rival to AW, and they are in a lot of ways. They are a very good battery, but the amp rating on the AWs typically is 10 amp and the E-Fest typically is 5 amp. We're not guaranteeing these numbers, we're just giving you our experience.
Yeah.
What is amps? Right, well, simply when you combine your voltage with your resistance, it will give you an output in power, which will be your watts, and it will give you an output in amps. Okay. The higher the amp on the battery, the better. It is simple as that. If you get to sort of the 10 amp range where we are with the Panasonics, you can get very good battery life and a quite high amp rating. if you want something like a 30 amp to run seriously low resistance coils, then you're looking at sacrificing mAh for amperage. That's all. I mean, most of the 30 amp batteries we've seen don't go above 1,600 mAh for an 18650, which if you look at it in terms of longevity is quite poor, but it's how the battery performs and what it can do in the 1,600 mAh that it contains.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered amps. Resistance, guys, I don't think we need to cover resistance totally, but we will show you an ohms law calculator. We'll link it to you and we'll talk about it so you can calculate what it is. If you're going to want to know what your amp limits are, you're going to have to know what your resistance is. It is just the way it is. If you're just mech modding, wrapping coils, don't know the resistance, you can't work it out accurately. You can guesstimate for experience, but
we can guesstimate pretty close.
We can guesstimate pretty close, but take your RSST read just did. I imagined it was going to be sort of 0.9 to 1. It turned out to be 0.7. This kind of stuff can make a huge difference when it comes to amps. All right, so it's never, you don't want to be guesstimating. And if you've got a battery that's rated to 5 amps and you do the calculations and it says 4.998.
You actually told me the other day as well, and you can probably remember this off the top of your head, what is the lowest coil you can get with a 10 amp battery?
With a 10 amp battery, off the top of my head,
it was like 0.4, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. It was, yes, it was. It was about 0.4.
0.4.
But that was based on basically when you're doing your calculations. I mean, I tend to do my calculations based on what my battery is actually putting through that coil under load because I can test that. Right, you're not going to be able to unless you've got the tanker meter or a multimeter. So your battery at full charge will be 4.2, your battery at empty will be 3.2, but they're rated to 3.7. I can say with a lot of confidence, in a mod, under a sub-ohm coil, no mod is going to be delivering more than 3.7 under that load, alright? So always calculate 3.7 in your ohms law calculator, okay? Don't think my battery's half empty so I calculate to 3.2, because that's not how it works. Just calculate it to 3.7, alright? That is what your voltage is going to be, unless you're using a 5 amp battery or you're stacking batteries, in which case it will be 7.4, alright, for your stack batteries. And if you're using your 5 volt batteries, then obviously it would be 5. That's what they're rated for. 5 volt batteries are rare in this country though, no. And stacking is something we don't advise you do. I'm not going to claim I've never done it. People who are on Facebook know that I have done it and do it now and again. But again, there are some calculations to take place, and if I choose to ignore them, that's my risk, not yours.
But basically, you were telling me the other day anyway, like basically a 10 amp battery, the lowest you pretty much want to go to be safe is 0.4 coil. If I think it was a 30 amp, you said it's about 1.5?
1.7, I believe it was.
1.7 ohm coil, but to be safe again,
these numbers.
2 ohm, a 0.2 ohm coil on your 30 amp battery is where you want to be sitting in the safe zone for a 30 amp battery. But obviously, you can push it a little bit, but right, again...
I've just done 3.7 on a 0.2, right, and that's given an 18.5 amp with an output of 68 watts, okay? So we'll take it down to 0.15 and we'll see what that gives us. 0.15 will give us 24.6, so losing that half an ohm is given 10 more amps on a battery and it's made it 91 watts. Right, I'll go down to what the lowest it'll let me do, safely anyway. We'll go to a 0.1 ohm coil. We're at 37 amps, okay? So let's say 0.2 to be completely safe. 0.2
to be completely safe, but you can knock it down to 0.15 and you're still under the 30 amp limit, but you are pushing close.
If you've got the 30 amp batteries, bear in mind these are 1,600 milliamp, you will be able to use a 0.2 ohm coil in theory, okay? I'm not going to guarantee anything, we're just giving you information as it is by Ohm's law, as it is from our experience, alright? We are not going to say something is totally safe, because if you're delving into sub-ohm coils, nothing is guaranteed safe. Know that now, alright? I've not had any bad experiences, but
either have I. I've gone down to a 0.6 lowest.
I mean, I've been down to 0.3s, but again, our risks, and I'm fully aware of the risks, and so is Worm.
Yes.
Right. So let's calculate for a 10 amp battery, for example. Now, I doubt you're not going to be able to make that out, guys. Basically, what this is, it's ohmslawcalculator.com. We will link it to you in the description. Please feel free to bookmark it, save it, use it. Please do. Right? Because sometimes it's just nice to know. It's an easy way to calculate.
Even if you're sure of it, double check it.
Yeah.
If there's a slight niggle, double check it with these calls, because best to be safe than sorry when you're delving this low. Again,
the Angel calculator has several purposes though. I mean, if I've got a tank emitter out and I want to know exactly what watts I'm getting, so if I'm using a kick and I want to know what my kick watts is, Evol kick, not Sigelli kick, then you can calculate it. You can calculate under load exactly what you're getting to see whether it's hitting the marks it should do. It's good for that kind of stuff, and also if you just want to know roughly what watts you're on using mechanical mods. If you're on a 0.9 ohm core at 3.7 volts, or if you've got a tank emitter, you can calculate exactly. Say you're on 3.84 under load, you can calculate exactly the wattage you're on. It's quite. I like this kind of stuff. I don't know if you guys do, but I do. But basically, on the Angel calculator, very simply, you've got voltage, current, resistance, and power. That's all you need to know. Okay, so we'll try and calculate for a 10 amp battery, say for our Panasonic, what we would do is safe. So if
we said 0.4, didn't we?
If I wrote a 0.4 in it, again, I did that having tested it under load, and I tested it at 4.2 for a full battery because I wanted to be really safe because at the time I didn't have a tank meter. Right, a 0.4 ohm coil on 3.7 volts, which I doubt you'll be hitting under load, but 3.7 volts is a 9.25 amp drain. Okay, and it's giving you a total of 34.225 watts. I've actually got a coil over there that's 0.4 ohms. That is what I'd be vaping at, 34.2 watts and an amp drain of 9.25, which is close to 10.
So basically what we said, 0.4 is, well, what you said anyway.
Yeah, 0.4 realistically is the lowest you want to go.
0.5, 0.6 to be safe.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah, I mean, this is what the intention is, just to make you aware of how you can check your batteries, how you can make them safe. Right, step one, know the limit of your batteries. So, for example, it was Ant, I believe, who asked about, because I said to make sure you stay safe on your coils. He showed me what batteries he had. I am 99.9% sure they're 5 amp batteries. Still check it though. Alright, so I'll do a calculation for you now. Let's knock it up to 0.8 ohm coil. Let's calculate that, 3.7 volts. I have accidentally reset that like a plum. Sorry guys. Reset and calculator
Something
right
had
next.
To go wrong.
Reset and calculator right next to each other, so you know what I mean, it's just the way I roll. Right, 3.7 volts, a 0.8 ohm coil, 4.6 amps. So you should be safe on a 0.8 ohm coil. On a 5 amp battery, that's kind of as low as you want to go. And to be honest with you, on a 0.8 ohm coil, you're not going to be dropping off as much as you will on seriously sub ohm coils. So on a full charge battery, you might be slightly above 3.7 if you're using a good mech mod with good conductivity.
Yeah.
So let me just check this.
Don't know what you're checking.
I've just bumped it up to 3.9 as opposed to 3.7 because you're never hitting above 3.9. Never on a 0.8. And you're still under 5 amp. Okay, so a 0.8 ohm coil you are good with on a 5 amp battery.
That's your safe zone.
That is your safe zone. 0.8 ohms is where you want to be. Now, to be honest with you, I'll do the calculation on the RSST that I've just rewicked. 3.7. I know my battery's only hitting that with 3.55. I've used the tank emitter. I know that's what's happening, but I'll calculate 3.7. Be safe. My coil is a 0.7 ohm coil. I'll calculate that, and I'm hitting 5.28571 amps. So we'll call it 5.3 amps. With a total wattage of 19.5 watts. That's what I'm hitting, okay, in this build at this precise moment in time. With this calculation, it is slightly less than that. It's more like 4.9 amps because the battery isn't hitting quite as hard as 3.7, but you always use 3.7, just do that, it's safe. So on your e-fests, you're actually just out of the safe zone with this. Now, I have run this on an e-fest, and it's been absolutely fine, but
his risk,
my risk, I'm out of the safe zone, alright? And when you're messing around with this kind of stuff, try and stick in that safe zone. It's not particularly difficult to do.
Especially when you first get into it and you get to know your batteries and that, and know how far you can push them, because obviously he's used his e-fest now quite a while. He's known how far he can push that. He's been using it on the Sigelli 20 quite a while now, and he's obviously done stupider things like double stack batteries. On what was it, a 0.6 ohm core? You done it on?
When? I don't want to want to.
See what I mean?
Look, yeah, this isn't a case. We're not trying to sit here and say do what we say and not what we do. What you do is up to you, all right? But we're just trying to give you information. We was asked how you know if it's safe. This is how you know if it's safe. If you choose to ignore it, they're your risks.
Yeah, like we say with like devices and that. If you want to modify your device, go for it. If you want to push past the safe zone, do it. If you're going to enjoy that vape, he does. He enjoys pushing the limits, and he enjoys it at that line for his perfect vape. That's how he likes it. He likes it hot, and he likes it like that.
That's how I roll. But again, they're my choices. I'm aware of the risks I'm taking if I take the risks. I mean, to be honest with you, this at the minute is a really good vape. I'm just about halfway to my amp limit of this battery. So I'm well in the safe zone on this battery.
Yeah.
I'm well safe with this, 0.7 ohms. I could go nearly half this resistance again and still be safe, alright? But at 0.7 ohms, I'm in a Jenny tank, I've drilled the hole out to 0.2, it clouds, alright? And I know that partially maybe my fault, alright? Maybe partially my fault, amongst many others, but in relation to the Facebook group, my fault maybe. Trend of setting sort of clouds of vapour on videos and posting them on Facebook and whatever else, alright. It's fun to do, it is fun to do. I know that the head dog's done it, I know that Neil's done it, I know Ant's participates, but I know a lot of the guys that participate just to blow a cloud, alright. And it's not like it's a bad thing, it's all fun and games, it is all fun and games, as long as you're aware of what you're doing, okay. And there's a difference between a cloud and then there's a cloud, alright. And if you can blow a cloud quite happily, this is like, again, nowhere near my max safe limit, and nothing wrong with that at all. Alright, I mean, this battery's half dead now, to be honest. If I put a full battery in there, it'd be kicking even harder. But you can blow clouds well within the safe limits. When you see people going and then going, and it's literally like the fog has descended, then yeah, they're doing things that are very sub-ohm. Not necessarily stupid, because most of these guys will be still practicing safe. They will have their 30 amp limit batteries. They will have their cores above 0.15 ohms. There will still be some kind of safe practice there, but the thing is, people want to rush in to get these clouds and not know that these guys are using batteries that are rated 6 times the amps of theirs, and they're wrapping coils that are practiced and well tried, and they're drilling out at ease. It's not a case of someone's grabbed an RDA with a standard air hole, put 2 stacked batteries on a 0.4 ohm coil, and that's what happens. This blowing cloud business, although it's popular, although I do join in, it's a pointless task. I'm not going to sit here and defend it. I can't defend it. It is just bragging rights and who's got the biggest balls. That's all it is. That is the vape off it. I don't enjoy the vape when I'm blowing serious clouds, like the video I posted on Facebook the other day. You can't taste fuck all. It hits you like a wrong-un. I was seriously, I was vaping a 12mg strength and I did 10 drops in one puff, okay, or 2 puffs. I did 10 drops in sort of 2 or 3 puffs. It's getting higher in it. I'm doing that typical amount, about 5 puffs. It was this big, but I did 10 drops very quickly in less than a minute video. All right, in about 5 puffs.
It was about 5.
It was about 5 puffs, and the clouds coming off were awesome. But I did not need to vape for a good hour and a half, and for me to not vape for an hour and a half is a very rare thing. All right, I have big nick overload. It was a pointless thing to do. I couldn't taste what juice it was. It's not. You're not vaping because you enjoy vaping. You're trying to prove that you can blow a bigger cloud than anyone else. And yeah, it's fun at times, but it's not necessary. If you're off the fags, you're off the fags. We're now getting into sort of hobby sports, and if you're going to do it safe. All right.
Get your 30 amp battery basically.
Yeah.
And make sure no matter what you wrap, as long as it's above 0.15, you are good to go.
That's, rule of thumb. That is rule of thumb. And
that's what you're looking for, clouds, anyway.
I mean, these batteries aren't particularly expensive. These Panasonics we bought, the 3400 mAh, we paid a tenner for 2. The higher drain 30 amp 1600 mAh on Fast Tech, I think they're about the same price, a tenner for 2.
I think they're an extra 50p or whatever.
So, we're talking sort of penny sweet differences though. And most of you guys are ordering from Fast Tech. If you're our regular sort of Facebookers and stuff, chuck them on. If you want to practice this kind of stuff, then chuck them on. Be safe, do it right.
At least with those batteries, you know pretty much whatever you wrap, as long as it's more than 1 coil in there with a 27 or 28 gauge, sorry, you're going to be pretty much fine.
Yeah, pretty much, unless you're doing 1 wrap.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be honest, having watched many cloud chasing videos myself and tried to do it several times, you go through different stages of what you think they're doing to get these clouds. Right, that is what you're doing. Now, I started off going low res coils, single battery. Then it was medium res coils, stacked batteries. Then it was low res coils, stacked batteries. Then it was lower res coils, single batteries. You use single batteries. These guys are using single batteries. I can guarantee you that they're not stacking batteries to get these clouds. Don't stack batteries to do it, because it's not going to get a result, and you're putting yourself in more risk. All right. That is just not how they do it. I can promise you that. You've seen me do it. It's not how it's done. You're having to modify devices and so on and so forth. You're ruining devices in order to rag, big bollocks, basically. If you want to do it, go for it. Go for it. Just, we advise you do a bit of research, use your own little calculator, which we will link for you down now, and keep well within the safe range. Always know what you're using, always know what batteries you're on, and don't ever try it with anything with fire in the title. Just a big no. The Trustfire batteries do a job, they do it okay, but they're not made to take that kind of torture.
No.
They're made to run maybe a Vamo and run it okay.
Go with your Sony, go with your Panasonics.
Your Nightcores, Sonys, Panasonics, MNKEs,
Sanyos
do some right batteries as well. But you can find this.
I think they're 10 amp limits though on them ones. I think you can definitely get a 30 amp Sony and a 30 amp
Pana and MNKEs 30 amp, and you also get Nightcores as well. But just know what your batteries are, and if you can find a battery on the site and it won't tell you what the amp rating is, search that battery on Google. Don't buy it until you know. Guesswork is not going to suffice for this kind of thing.
No.
And let's face it, that's what this kind of thing is for. You don't need to know what your amps are when you're vaping at normal limits. You don't. If you're vaping a 1.3 ohm coil on a standard battery, you're nowhere near an amp limit of an E-Fest or an AW, probably even not a Trustfire.
No.
Sub-ohm coils. Do it safe. I think we're kind of pretty much done.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything else you want to ask, just drop onto the Facebook, leave a little comment there, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Simple as that, guys. Like I say, the overall calculator will be down there. Please go and check it out. Save it. It's worth having. It really is. We've used it for quite a while, so go ahead and do it, guys. Hopefully, we've been a little bit helpful in whatever it is you needed from us. If you're watching this video, thank you very much for watching, guys. I am Mr. Proton. This has been the Worm.
See you soon.